Okay, so we're continuing on with inequalities, and this time we're going to look at combining inequalities, not just one inequality, but what happens when we get two of them together. Okay, so let's say A is greater than or equal to -4. So we've got an equal symbol, so we know we can do a solid circle. We know it's going to say greater than, which is pointing that way. So done that. Let's have another look. What if he said A is less than 3? Well, we know it's less than, but not equal. So we put an empty circle and we do the less than arrow. And then we're kind of going, hang on a minute. These two arrows, they're pointing at each other. They kind of join up in the middle there. Maybe we could represent this just simply by a line. Let's draw it at the bottom here. Let's do from -4 up to, but not including 3. So now we could say, okay, let's rewrite this as one thing. So we got these two things. Can we join those together and make it one thing? All right, so we're going to start with our A, and we're going to say it's less than 3, and then we're going to say greater than equal to -4. Looks pretty good, doesn't it? No, it doesn't. There's a mistake there. What's the mistake? Look at this symbol here and look at it up here. Now, the big side is on the A side at the top here. It's pointing towards the -4, but over here, it's pointing towards the A. We've got to reverse the symbol. We've got to say A is less than 3, but it's greater than equal to -4. Now that's the same direction, that the A is pointing at the -4 like the one above. So this is correct. And you know you got it right because the arrows are pointing in the same direction. Over at the top here where they were wrong, they were pointing in opposite directions. That one's pointing towards the A, that one's pointing towards the A. That's wrong. Let's try another one of these. So let's look at B. Let's say B is greater than 0, and we'll say B is less than or equal to 7. Let's start with the first one. So we've got B is greater than 0, so we put an empty circle at 0, and we've got B is less than or equal to 7. We put a solid circle, and we know that these two, because this one's going that way and that one's going that way, they're going to meet in the middle. We can just change that to being like this, and that is what B represents. And of course, we want to take these two things up here and make them the same. But remember, what we have to do is we want to put the B in the middle, like we got down the bottom. So we've got to flip this left-hand side around, and we've got to put the flip the sign. We put the 0 there and the B there, and now that looks like we've got B's in the middle. So now if we look, we got B less than 7. Well, we don't have to write B twice, we can just write B once. So we can see that B is less than 0, B is less than or equal to 7. And both our arrows are pointing in the same direction. Now you might be thinking to yourself, why are they pointing to the left? Why not point to the right? Well, let's try that out. If we tried to point them to the right, if we wanted the arrows to point to the right, we would keep the B going to 0 at the top here, and we'd have to flip the other one instead. We'd have to flip this one, and we'd have to have 7 greater than or equal to B. Okay, they're the same thing, but now we find that we've got B and 0 and we're in the wrong spots. So we've got B greater than 0, 7 greater than or equal to B with a 7 there, and we got a 0 and a 7 in the middle. What's that? Oh, that's just not working. So strange as it may seem, to get this to work, you've got to have the arrows pointing to the left, and that's how you know you've got it right. Okay, let's start drawing some of these up. Now, normally with these, we're going to go from the right to the left. So let's just draw the two endpoints. So for A, we've got an open circle at 0, because there's no equals part. And we've got a closed circle at -3, because there is an equals, and then we just join them up. And we call that A. So far, so good. Let's look at the next one, B. B, we've got an empty circle at 9 because we've got no equal symbol, and also an empty circle at 7 because there's no equal symbol. And we line them up and we call that B. Let's try C. C starts at -2. We're going to do it underneath so it looks nice and neat. I've got a solid circle at -2 and a solid circle at -6. And I join them up and I call that C. Now let's look at D. D's got a solid circle at 6 and an empty circle at 3. How do we know that? Because the 6 has got an equals and the 3 doesn't have an equals. And we join them up and we call that D. Looking pretty good so far. Now let's start with E. So we start with an empty circle at 2 and then we move to the left. Oh, hang on, but we have to move to the right because 5 is to the right of 2. What's going on here? If we look at this, we've got a solid circle at 5, and we know that's E, but from E to 2, we're actually going this way, and from E, we're saying greater than 5. So we're actually looking at this situation, which is perfectly acceptable. If we looked at A, we're saying everything including -3 and all the way up to 0. This is the opposite case. This is saying everything up to but not including 2 for E, and everything from 5 and above. And we're going to find a similar situation with F. So if we look at F, we've got -4. So that's a empty circle because it's 0. And then we've got an empty circle there. And we know F's in between. But the arrow from the -4 is actually going that way. And the arrow from the 0 is going that way. So F looks like that as well. We got a gap situation. Perfectly acceptable. Okay, let's make some equations. Let's look at A. Remember, A is actually made up of two things going like this. So if we have A, we know on the right-hand side it is less than or equal to 1. And on the other side it is greater than or equal to -7. Technically, we sort of flipped around that left-hand side, but I think it's not too hard to remember how to do that. Let's look at B. B, we've got less than, but not equal to 9, and less than, or greater than, sorry, it's 5. It looks like a less than, but it's greater than 5 because now the B is on the other side of that inequality. Let's look at C. Now C I think is going to be a little bit trickier. So what I like to do is write it out as two things. So we've got C is greater than or equal to 3 because we've got the solid circle, remember? And we've got C is also less than but not equal to 0. This guy at the top here, he's pointing the wrong way, isn't he? So let's just flip it around. Let's put the 3 on the other side, change the sign. There's C. And now if we put C in the middle, we can see that 3 less than C less than 0. That's combining those two inequalities together. Not too bad. Let's have a look at D. D looks a little easier again, so let's put D less than or equal to -4, solid circle. Not a solid circle, so we don't put the equals part of it, and we just put -9. Let's do E. E looks like one of those ones where we've got to do it in two parts again. So we've got E is less than or equal to 2, or E is greater than or equal to 4. Well, this is the one with the arrow the wrong way, so we put the 4, flip the arrow the other way, E, combine them together, put E, and we can do, there's the 4, and there's the 2. That's not too bad. And then we've got F. F is doing this. So we got F is less than 0, no equals, but greater than, well, it's not 0, is it? That's the circle in the thing. Let's get rid of that. It's actually -4. And that one is -8. Whew, got there in the end. Okay, whenever you're doing this kind of work, it's good to make some summary notes. So these are the 8 possible situations. So if I were you, I would pause the video and copy this down so that if you're ever doing a problem on a test, you can look at these notes and go, ah, that's what I need to look at.